that relationship you just got out of didn't fail, it simply finished. When a relationship ends, we automatically tend to label that relationship as a failure. And I believe that's because society conditioned us to measure a relationship by how long it's lasted, not really by what it's really taught us. And I feel like it's very natural at first because the ending of a breakup is very painful. And it's hard to see the value the relationship brought to us when everything is crumbling down. Everything feels like you lost everything. It feels like you wasted your time, you wasted your love. And in this video, we're going to be discussing why none of that is actually ever wasted. Why time itself is never actually wasted. In this video, we're going to be discussing why people are just life lessons, people are sometimes just experiences. Because we all know every relationship teaches us something, either about ourselves or something that we wouldn't have learned on our own. Because when you're in a relationship, you have a partner that's seeing you for who you truly are, seeing you how you move, seeing how you think, seeing how you speak. And sometimes we need that outside perspective to see how we actually are doing about ourselves, within ourselves. You know, hard relationships will actually reveal what you need to grow about yourself, you know? And sometimes people are there just to show you something about yourself which you need to work on. Coming from my experience, I've had relationships or experiences where someone taught me self respect, someone taught me self love, someone taught me to this and that, someone taught me about emotion, someone taught me about avoidancy, someone taught me about this. And all those experiences shape you become who you're meant to be. If I didn't have my last experience, I wouldn't have known how to transform myself. If I didn't have that other experience, I wouldn't have been able to learn self respect for myself. And that's how you have to see the ending of relationships. You have to shift that perspective. And as much as it's hard to, because you lost everything, you have to see it like this. As soon as when you lose something, you gain something. In order to gain something, you have to make space for other things. You have to remove certain things out of your life, certain habits, certain people, for you to attract blessings, goals, or things you want to achieve in general, right? And you have to take with you is that relationships are simply just lessons. That's how it is. It's all it truly is. Because you notice how the lessons stay long after the person's already gone? You know, that should say what life is itself. You know, life is all about experiences. And it reminds me of that one quote, specifically that we all know that famous quote. We don't know who it's by, but all good things must come to an end. You know what I mean? And that doesn't mean your relationship was bad or anything like that. We've all had amazing days. We've all had amazing birthdays where you don't want the day to end. It just happens to end. You have to go to sleep. You have to wake up for tomorrow. That vacation has to go to end. You have to go to work the next week. That doesn't make that vacation, it doesn't make that day bad. It simply just has to come to an end. And that's how you have to see your past relationship, as just an experience. Because a lot of people become too attached with the person, but you have to realize that and come to the sense that sometimes people in life are just meant for a lesson. They're not here to stay the whole ride. They're here to teach you on their lesson, to teach you a lesson, and then hop off the next stop. That's what life is about. So you will have to take that lesson within that relationship and make that shape into who you're meant to be. You know, because every relationship really does add to who you're becoming. You know, the pain itself is preparing you for something greater. What's important is how you handle the pain. Because it's very natural and validating to sit with the pain. I always give it about a day, maybe day or two, however my feelings may need it, to sit with my emotions, let it all out, cry it out. But it's important not to sit and dweep about it. It's not okay just to let yourself be in that place. It's okay to be in that place one day or two, but focus on getting yourself out of that place. Focus on bettering yourself. You know what I mean? How have I been experiencing my recent breakup is I've been using that pain as I've been needing to work on myself. I've been trying to make myself a new, better person. So all that pain is I'm using that energy and putting it into myself and what I actually need to work on. I've been going to the library, I've been reading my books, I've been hitting the gym, being more disciplined, and simply just bettering myself. And the more you shift that perspective, the more you shift that energy into yourself and into who you're meant to become, you really find yourself healing. And healing isn't about rushing the process, isn't about, I'm just trying to get over this, I'm just trying to get over it, move on, move on, move on. No, 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 no. When you're rushing the process, when you're using other people to fill in the void, to fill in what you don't want about yourself, you're actually just making all of that worse. When you get out of a relationship, you have to face who you really are. And you have to reflect what that relationship actually taught you. You cannot be hopping from relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship, because what are you actually learning from the relationship? Your relationships are always going to be the same thing, if you're not taking the time to learn from it, not taking the time to see it as an experience. So stop measuring your relationship by their ending and start measuring it. I'm sorry, I have to look at my notes because I don't remember what I said. Start remembering what they add to your life. You know? Because a relationship doesn't erase what you already have built inside of you. Which is why I've been able to handle the breakup more efficiently, because I already had this foundation already set up. I've always believed in myself and being okay, being able to bounce back, and be able to know that life is full of life lessons. I don't take anything personal. And that's how you have to spend life. That's how you have to live life. Time spent loving someone genuinely is never time lost. It's time invested in your growth. That was a quote I got somewhere online in a TikTok comment, and that actually moved me a lot, to a point where I need to say it on this video, because it's true. You don't realize it, but when you get in a relationship, you have to be ready and be committed to who you're about to face, and sometimes that's yourself. And when I say who you're about to face, I mean yourself. Because when you're in a relationship, you notice the bad behaviors about yourself, the negative patterns you do about yourself, and sometimes the negative patterns that you do to yourself affect the relationship. So that's why it's important. So to head into a relationship with a growth mindset, knowing that I'm going to be flawed, I'm going to have things wrong, but I'm willing to work on that and I'm willing to change on that. And that's super important to have that mindset. So guys, I hope you guys got today's message, that you didn't waste your time loving them at all. None of that time was ever wasted. It was never wasted. Thank you guys all for listening. Thank you guys for watching. Go check out my website if you haven't already. That has all my links on there if you guys haven't already. I have my podcast where I recently just go over my breakup that I just went through. I go super impersonal, in depth, and what I've learned, what I've reflected about it. And I definitely go recommend checking it out. I feel like I've made so many inspiring messages in that pod that hopefully someone can really take an inspiring message from that. So thank you guys for everything you guys have done. Check out my ebook Rebuild if you haven't already. I'll see you guys on the next one. Please subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Deuces.